Welcome back to Grace to Endure. In this video, we're continuing the series on marriage and family. So let's talk about how do you build a good family? How do you keep a good family or establish it? How does it continue to be good? Well, the Bible tells us how, but it's hard to hear. It's going to take humility to hear and then to do it. Proverbs 24:23 tells us exactly how it's done. A house is built by wisdom, and it is established by understanding. So you need two things to start with: wisdom and understanding. Job 28:28 tells us a definition of what wisdom and understanding are. Wisdom, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. And to turn away from evil is understanding. So these are the two things you need to build and keep a good family. So the fear of the Lord, what is that? It's that you know that God is keeping track of and knows everything going on in your family, and that makes you cautious. You know, you have the integrity to realize that God is always watching. And so that should be why you do and say and think what you do. You say and you think. Wow. So if we stop and think about how we are behaving in our families, in light of the fact that God will judge it with perfection, that is a little bit of a scary thing, isn't it? And it should be. It should make us solemn and sober, every one of us. Wait a minute. So God was listening to that conversation? Wait a minute. So God was in on my thoughts? Wait a minute. So God saw how I parented just now? Yes. That is something that should strike a little bit of fear in every one of us. And that will help you, that attitude of acknowledging God in all of your ways of how you do your family life, that will help you to be wiser in what you do, and what you say, and what you think. Okay, what about understanding? How does understanding help us? Well, understanding is turning away from evil because you realize evil is tearing down. So evil does the opposite of building and establishing, keeping good things. It tears down good things. It gets rid of good things. It's the opposite of building and establishing. So when you understand that something is wrong and that it is destructive, you get rid of it. You turn away from it. You change your mind about it. You put it out of your life and you pursue the thing that God says to replace it with. And all of a sudden, you have a home built on wisdom and understanding, and you have a better, healthier family because it started with you, right? It started with the only person that you can change. You started being a person of wisdom, realizing that God was watching your interactions and understanding that the evil things are what's tearing, the sinful things that you're doing are tearing down your family. And so you change your mind about them and you stop doing them. That is how to build a good family for your part. And all you can do is your part. In Micah 6:8, we see that God has three requirements here of all mankind. And that is to pursue justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly before God. These are really good things to bring to our marriage. So I want to talk a little bit about justice in your marriage. How can you be just in your marriage? Well, here's something to think about. When people come to a counseling situation, a marriage counseling situation, oftentimes the women will come to me, and what they really do is they just talk about the sins of the person they're married to. And because my husband does counseling work too, I've noticed the same thing happens with him. The husbands just come and talk about the sins of the wife. That is not a mature Christian attitude to come to marriage counseling for or with. Don't bring that attitude. What it should be is this. In fact, it might keep you from needing to go for marriage counseling. If instead you think, what has the person I'm married to said they would like me to change? Is it reasonable? And is it good? Okay, maybe I need to consider what it would take to change those things and make those changes. That could help a lot. Also, I need to be considering my own sins. Let's say the person you're married to says you don't listen, you interrupt, you this, you that, and they have different complaints. Consider each of those things quietly, separately, and with prayer. And consider, are they biblical and reasonable? And how do I change those things? If you are struggling with how to change them, you just don't know. Let's say that you don't see it until it's too late, and that's what you need help with. When you go to the Christian who is able to maybe give you good counsel, you want to say, hey, I struggle with this, this, and this. Can you help me with that? I don't know how I keep getting into arguments. Can you help me see them coming? Do you have any tips on how do you see it coming before an argument's there? How do you diffuse an argument before it starts? How do you help me with how to change these things that I know I need to work on in order to be more Christ-like in my marriage? That is really what counseling should be about. It should be that that's normally the issue. Sadly, it's often not, and I think it's because it's a lack of applying Micah 6:8 of pursuing justice. In other words, I am trying to rightly judge what's going on and what the conflict is biblically. I'm trying to listen to what the other one is saying. I also have my concerns, and I am trying to biblically think it through. And you're coming to a counselor to help with that. Okay? Also, the counselor is hopefully helping you to change you, because they can't change the other person. That's not possible. Okay, so if both sides are thinking about how they can change and be more Christ-like, a lot of the marriage problems would be much smaller. We'll say that much. Of course, you can't control the other person, but all you can ever do is change where you know that you need to change, and be content with that. Learning to be content with if you are being Christ-like in your marriage, and apologizing when you're not, and going on, and just pursuing your days like that and your marriage like that, and being content with doing right. Okay, so let's look at these 4 pillars. I have 4 things to consider to help your marriage. Number 1, prayer. Being a person of prayer. Pray for your person that you are married to more than anyone else. Make sure they know that. It's very encouraging when you hear someone saying, hey, I'm praying for you where you're going in that meeting today. Encourage them with prayer, and do not neglect praying for their spiritual needs. Number 2, Bible time. If you are a teacher of scripture, oftentimes you can start only studying scripture in order to teach. And although that you do need to study scripture in order to teach scripture, if you're only studying scripture in order to tell other people what to do, that's not deepening your relationship with the Lord, is it? No. So we need to approach scripture with 2 different attitudes every day. Number 1, I need to read scripture. No matter how many times I've read it, I need to keep on reading scripture each day, because I need to be reminded of things I'm not applying to my marriage, to my family life, to my friends, to my church friendships, all of these things. I need to be reminded of where I need to change. So reading helps remind. Number 2 is learning and studying scripture. Learning is like digging deep and staying long at scripture, because you are studying who God is and what he has decided to write in scripture. The one who knows all things wrote that book. And the more you can dig deep and understand, the more you get to know who God is, so you can copy him, which means you're becoming more Christ-like. And so you are bringing a more Christ-like version of yourself to your marriage. That will benefit your marriage greatly. Number 3 is worshiping God, praising God every day, finding songs that are songs of worship. Be careful that you're not finding songs that appeal to the flesh, because it's not worshiping God. If you're trying to just find something that's cool or makes you feel good, or you're just kind of fantasizing in your mind about people hearing your great voice or something like that, I think we do that more often than we realize. That's not what worshiping God is about. It's about thinking about who God is and what he's done, and praising and thanking him for it. This will make us a more joy-filled person to bring into our marriage. Okay, then lastly, time. How you spend your time. Definitely spend more time together as a couple. And I hear a lot of times people say we can't go on dates because we argue. Don't try to solve your marriage problems on your dates. Just decide ahead of time. Let's not talk about anything that we disagree about. Let's not talk about that. Talk about pleasant things or things you agree about, or just don't even talk that much. Just enjoy the activity together. This is a good way to spend time together, and over time, you can maybe get better at being able to talk without conflict. Okay, lastly, and still in regards to time, think about who you spend time with as a couple. Get together with other Christian couples who love God and love marriage. And it's going to be so healthy for your marriage because when you do that, you see that a lot of the things that you struggle with, they struggle with too. And so you can start believing lies like, oh, we're not compatible and all of this nonsense. That's not true. You're compatible. And when you see other people who you are like, oh, they have such a great marriage, and then you get together with them and you find out they struggle with or did struggle with some of the same things you struggle with in your marriage, it's very encouraging because you start to realize, oh, well, it's not that we're incompatible. We're just human and we're different than each other. And we just need to get better at handling conflict and solving problems together, right? And sometimes it's a matter of obeying scripture, letting the husband lead, or listening and loving your wife, and laying down your life for your wife, and sometimes it's really a need to obey scripture. And you'll hear that from the other couple, because if they're Christians and they love God and they love marriage, you'll hear them say those kinds of things like, yeah, I had to learn to just let my husband be the leader. Or you'll hear the husband be like, yeah, I wasn't very loving and I didn't know what it meant to lay down my life for my wife back then, but I started to learn that I just needed to listen to her. And I listened to her and thought it through, and some of those things that she was talking about, she was right. And so we worked it out, and this is how we worked it out. And those kind of things can really encourage marriage couples. So I really encourage spending time with Christians who love God and love marriage.